Okay guys, our lesson today is to be able to find the surface area of prisms. We're going to start with rectangular prisms. Rectangular prisms are prisms where the bases are rectangles. There's a formula that we use to find the surface area of a rectangular prism. It says that the surface area, which is represented by a capital S, but I often will use an S and an A, and that's going to be equal to 2 times the length times width plus 2 times the length times height plus 2 times the width times height. Now, what does all of that mean? Well, let's take a look at the first part of this formula. 2 times the length times width. If you look at this picture here, right, I'm outlining the base of the rectangular prism. All right. Your bases are the two parallel congruent faces. Now with a rectangular prism, theoretically you can make any of the two opposite sides bases. You really can. But if we have the prism sitting here, then this is the base, this is the length, this is the width. Because we're looking for the surface area, we need two of these areas. So I need this area here, all right, which I'm going to shade in here, plus this area here. And that's what the first part of this formula represents. 2 times the length times width. If we look at the net of the figure, all right, these are your two bases of the net. All right, this face here and this face here. Now the second part of the formula talks about the lateral area. Lateral area is defined as the area that does not include the bases. So we have the two bases here. Your lateral area then is this area here, all right, which I'm outlining in blue. Your lateral area is the area that does not include your bases. Now for the lateral area, all right, let me erase this here so we can see this a little clearer. For the lateral area, we have 2 times length times height. Well, here's the length, here's the height. So we're talking about this face here and the opposite on the opposite side, that face there. All right, so 2 times the length times height. So here's the length times height. That's going to give you the area of this front face, but then we also have the area of that back face there. So it's length times height and length times height, 2 times the length times height. And then let me erase that and then see this part here, 2 times the width times height. Well, here's the width, here's the height. So we're looking at these two rectangles here, right? The two rectangles that would be the side faces of the lateral area. So when we're finding the surface area of a rectangular prism, we're essentially finding the area of 3 rectangles, all right? And that's what I see here. Length times width, length times height, length times width. We have 3 rectangles, and then we have to double each one of those areas because each of the rectangles that we find, it has an opposite side. Okay, but to make all of that easy, we simply use this formula, and the formula is very, very simple to use. Okay, so once again, the lateral area or the lateral surface area of a prism is the sum of the areas of the lateral faces. Lateral faces are the faces that are not your bases. Okay, so let's take a look at our first example. Anytime we use a formula to solve a problem, we always start by writing the formula. So we start by writing surface area is equal to 2 times length times width plus 2 times length times height plus 2 times the width times height. Your next step is your substitution step. So surface area is going to be equal to. Now here's our rectangular prism. Okay, let's identify length, width, and height. It's always good to label your length, width, and height if you can, if you've sketched it on a paper or something, because you're less likely to use the formula incorrectly if you label your length, your width, and your height of the rectangular prism. But once you do that, it's now just substitution and computation. Your length is 3, your width is 5, so it's 2 times 3 times 5 plus 2 times your length times height. Your length is 3, your height is 6, so that's 3 times 6 plus 2 times your width times height. Your width is 5. Your height is 6. Alright, so your surface area is going to be equal to 3 times 5 is 15, times 2 is 30, 3 times 6 is 18, 18 times 2 would be 36, 6 times 5 is 30, times 2 is 60. So your total surface area of that rectangular prism would be 30, plus 60 is 90, plus 30, that's 126. And of course our units for area is going to be square units. Alright? Okay, let's do a couple more of the rectangular prisms. We'll do these two down here. Okay, once again, we just simply use the formula. So surface area is equal to 2 times length times width, plus 2 times length times height, plus 2 times the width times the height. Surface area is going to be equal to 2 times, well, what's my length, width, and height? Once again, it's always good to identify them, so I'm going to do length, I'm going to do width, I'm going to do height. Now, does it matter which one you identify as your length, which one you identify as your width, which one you identify as your height? No, right? It doesn't matter which one you do, your length, your width, and your height, but it's good to label them. So, we have 2 times your length. Your length here is 2. Your width here is 3, so that's 2 times 2 times 3. Length times height is going to be 2 and 4, plus 2 times, let's see, your width times the height. That's going to be 2 times what? 3 times 4. Alright, and then so your surface area is going to be equal to 2 times 3 is 6, times 2 is 12, plus 2 times 4 is 8, times 2 is 16, plus 3 times 4 is 12, times 2 is 24. So your surface area is going to be equal to, what's that, 40, it's going to be 52 square feet. Alright, and we'll do one more example of a rectangular prism, then we'll move on to our triangular prisms. Alright, so your surface area, write your formula, length times width, plus 2 times length times height, plus 2 times width times height. Surface area is going to be equal to 2 times, let's do length, let's do width, let's do height. So that's going to be 2 times 8 times 8, plus 2 times length times height is 8 times 5, plus 2 times width times height is going to be 8 times 5. Alright, so that's going to be, let's see, surface area is going to be equal to 8 times 8 is 64, times 2 is 128, 8 times 5 is 40, times 2 is 80, plus another 80. Surface area is going to be equal to 160, 260, 288. And those are square meters. Alright, so first part of the lesson, if we're finding the surface area of rectangular prisms, alright, we write the formula, we label our length, width, and height, we show our substitution step, write our answer in square units. Alright, and quite honestly, this is something that you did do last year as well, so this should look kind of familiar. Alright, now you guys can go through the rest of these slides. I'd say try these problems on your own, right? Get some practice, but all of these problems would be worked on or worked out in the worked out solutions to the lesson, but I'm not going to do all of them in the video. I just want to give you an idea of what to do and how to do them. But all of the rectangular prisms would be done the same way. Alright, let's look at the triangular prisms. To find the surface area of a triangular prism, it's more efficient to find the surface area or to find the area of each individual face and then calculate the sum of the faces. Alright, now what you want to do is you essentially want to break a triangular prism into the following. You would find the area of 2 triangles, right? So that's one triangle here and one triangle here. So when you find the area of 2 triangles, those 2 triangles, first of all, will always be the same. because by definition a triangular prism has two parallel congruent faces. So those triangles have to be congruent, so they're going to be the same. Right? So you're going to see me do this. 2 times 1/2 base times height. All right? When you multiply two triangles, 1/2 base times height, by 2, the 2 and in the numerator and the 2 in the denominator will cancel each other out. So when we're finding the surface area of the two triangles, it's just going to be base times height. All right? So that's going to be a big part of our formula. You'll see me do that over and over again. All right? But I will take 1/2 base times height and multiply it by 2, but then you'll see me cancel those 2's out. And then we just have the area of 3 rectangles, which, you know, you guys have been doing that probably since 4th grade. So we find the area of the 3 rectangles, we find the area of the 2 triangles, and we put all of that together, and that's going to be, you know, our surface area. All right, so let's see what that's going to look like. All right, so let's give ourselves some room here so we could see all these triangles. So I like for you guys to write it out this way. Surface area is going to be equal to 2 triangles plus 3 rectangles. Okay, so 2 triangles plus 3 rectangles. Your surface area is going to be equal to, we have 2 times 1/2 base times height. So the surface area is going to be equal to, right, if I'm doing the 2 triangles, that's going to be 2 times 1/2. Well, what's the base and the height? Base is 4, height is 3. So it's going to be 4 times 3. They cancel. So the surface area of the 2 triangles is simply going to be 4 times 3, which is 12 square inches. All right, so let's look at that again up here. It's 1/2 of 4 times 3, which is 6. But if this is 6 and this is 6, that's where we get the area of the 2 triangles is 12. But we still have the 3 rectangles. All right, so let's do the 3 rectangles over here. All right, I'm going to do that over here in black. So my 3 rectangles are going to be, well, let's see. Well, because we have an equilateral triangle, that means all of these bases are the same, right? And all of these measurements are the same as well. So the 3 rectangles are all going to be the same. So that's going to be 3.6 times 14 plus 3.6 times 14 plus 3.6 times 14. Now if you wanted to write that as 3 times 3.6 times 14, you could certainly do that. But when you multiply this, that's going to be 50.6 plus 50.6 plus 50.6. So that's going to be what? 5150. And let's see, this is going to be, all right, so we add that together, and that's going to be, made a mistake here, right? This, right, it's my mistake, right? That last rectangle isn't 3.6 times 14. It's actually, undo that, it's actually 4 times 14. So that should have been a 4, and 4 times 14 would be 56. When we add that together, we wind up with 156.8. So the surface area is the sum of those two numbers. So we take the 12, I want to add the 156.8, all right, and that's going to give us 168.8 square inches. That's going to be our surface area. All right, now once again, we're just finding the area of 2 triangles. That gives us the 12. We find the area of the 3 rectangles. That gives us 156.8. I take my 3 rectangles, 2 triangles, add them together. That's where we get our answer. Okay, so let's try a couple more of these. Let's go down here. Let's go down to this page here. Okay, I want to find the surface area of this triangular prism. First of all, I want you to recognize that it's a triangular prism. because the bases are two parallel congruent triangles, right? I just outline them in black. Those are your bases. And when you have a prism, the lateral faces are going to be rectangles, right? And that's key that we understand that a prism, your lateral faces are going to be rectangles. So my lateral faces are all rectangles. My bases are triangles. So let's erase that. Okay, so let's start with the area of the two triangles. My surface area is going to be equal to the area of my two triangles plus my three rectangles. Okay, so let's start with my two triangles. All right, so that's going to be 2 times 1/2 base times height. All right, and then let's see, surface area is going to be equal to 2 times 1/2. What's your base and height? Well, when you're finding the area of the triangular bases, the key is to find the right angle symbol. Right, there's my right angle symbol. When I find that right angle symbol, I need to find the two segments that make up that right angle symbol. What are my two perpendicular segments? Right, and those are these two black segments here are the two segments that make up the right angle. They are your two perpendicular segments. So they are your base and your height. Doesn't matter which one's your base, which one's your height, right? They can be interchangeable, but the most important thing is that I'm not using this segment here for the area of the triangle. I'm using these two segments here. So that's going to be 1/2 of 5 times 12. Right? They cancel each other out. So the surface area of the two triangles is 60 square meters. But then we have the area of the three rectangles. Well, what are the three rectangles? Okay, well, let's highlight them in blue. I got one rectangle here, and that's 5 by what? This segment here is 3. So I'm going to add to that a 5 by 3 plus, what else do we have here? All right, so I'm going to erase that so we could see it. What's my next rectangle? It's this rectangle here. All right, and what's the length and width of that rectangle? Well, that's 13 by 3. And then we have one more. Let's see. Let's erase that so we can see it. And what's that last rectangle? That's this back rectangle here. Right, and that is going to be 3 by 12. So we're going to add to that my 3 times 12 rectangle. So that's going to be 15. So that's going to be plus, let's see, that's going to be 15. This is what? 39. 3 times 12 is 36. So that winds up being what? 15, 39, 36 plus the 60. So we have 60 plus the 15 plus the 39 plus the 36. So your total surface area is equal to the sum of all of those segments. All right, let me erase that, and we add them together. And when we add them together, we get we get 150, and these are square meters for the surface area. All right, but once again, it's the area of two triangles, and then we find the area of three rectangles. All right, we'll do one last problem, and then you guys can do, right, you guys can try these other two problems on your own, right? But let's do this next problem here. Let's start with the two triangles. So the surface area is going to be equal to two triangles. So what do the two triangles look like? So surface area is equal to 2 times 1/2 base times height. Surface area is equal to, well, they cancel each other out, the 2 and the 1/2, so I need the base and the height. I find my right angle symbol, right? That's the key. Find that right angle symbol. That right angle symbol says that the 3 and the 4 are your perpendicular segments. So it's going to be 3 times 4, right? So the surface area is going to be equal to, that's 12. 3 times 4 is 12. Plus, we need the area of 3 rectangles. So my 3 rectangles are the following. Okay, let's erase this. My 3 rectangles would be the following. Well, I have one rectangle here. So that looks like that's 4 by 4. Plus, what's my other rectangle? Down here, that's 3 by 4. And then what's my last rectangle? Well, my last rectangle is this rectangle here. Let me highlight it in red so we can see it. It's this rectangle here, which says what? This segment here is 5. This segment here matches this segment here. That's 4. So that's 5 by 4. So we have 3 times 4, right? Plus the 4 times 4, which is 16. Plus the 3 times 4, which is 12, plus the 5 times 4, which is 20. So my total surface area is going to be 12 plus 12 plus 16 plus, this is 20. I want you to think that that's 26. So that's going to be what? 44, 54. That's 60 square centimeters. All right? So when you do your problems today, you know, the rectangular prisms, rather simple, just use the formula. But for the triangular prisms, they're the problems that give kids lots of difficulty, but you just have to, you know, keep track of each step. Find the area of the 2 triangles, and when you find the area of the 2 triangles, you're looking for the perpendicular segments and use the right angle symbol to give you the clue. And then we add the area of the 3 rectangles. All right? I hope that's been helpful. Good luck.